Welcome, everyone, to a very special deep dive edition of Leading Edge AI Radio. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today.
It's great to be here.
Before we jump into well, I'm looking at a massive stack of research sitting on the desk right now, but before we get into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Leading Edge Fiber and Recycle.
They're doing great work.
They really are. And just as our sponsor is out there doing the hard, essential work of recycling physical infrastructure to build a more sustainable future, today's deep dive is really about recycling our outdated ideas.
Have you ever noticed how the overarching vibe of your workplace almost always trickles down from the top?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you walk into one office and people feel energized.
Right.
They're pitching new ideas, taking risks. And then you walk into another and there's just this heavy blanket of exhaustion.
Yeah, stagnation.
Everyone's just staring at the clock. It's like there's an invisible architecture shaping everything you do, dictating how you experience your Monday through Friday.
It really is invisible, but you feel it everywhere.
Exactly. So today, we are taking a deep dive into that invisible architecture leadership styles. We're going to explore how the people in charge actually build the reality of your day-to-day work life.
And we really need to look at how that architecture extends far beyond just internal office culture.
Right, because it doesn't stop at the lobby.
It doesn't. Because the way a leader behaves internally creates a massive ripple effect outward. It dictates an organization's impact on the entire world.
Big time.
We're talking about how leadership drives responsible business practices. Things like ESG, environmental, social, and governance initiatives, massive pro bono projects, and even how leaders responsibly or, irresponsibly manage the adoption of revolutionary tech like AI.
To figure all of this out, we've got a really fascinating stack of sources for you today. First up is an academic report from April 2025, published in the International Research Journal of Education and Technology.
Which is great for the baseline data.
Yeah, it gives us the hard numbers on how leadership styles directly impact organizational culture. Then, to see what this looks like when you apply it to the real world, we're diving into the Responsible Business Report 2025 from the global law firm Freshfields.
A massive document.
It is. It's essentially a blueprint for modern corporate responsibility. And finally, we have a study from February 2026 from ArcSift by researchers at Anthropic.
That one is wild.
It looks at how AI is impacting human skill formation in the workplace, and the results are honestly pretty shocking.
It is a diverse set of materials, for sure. I mean, you've got academic theory, corporate reporting, and bleeding-edge AI research.
Right, the mix.
But when you look closely, they all point to the exact same fundamental truth about human behavior.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to figure out how the way a leader leads determines whether a company merely survives or whether it builds a responsible, sustainable, and highly skilled ecosystem.
Right.
Starting with the foundation, let's look at that 2025 academic report from the International Research Journal of Education and Technology.
The survey data.
Yeah, they surveyed a 110-person sample to get to the bottom of how leadership aligns with organizational goals. And the baseline stat is pretty telling.
It really sets the stage.
Over 80% of people, a combined 80.9% to be exact, perceive a direct alignment between their leadership style and the organization's goals.
With about 46.4% seeing it regularly and 34.5% occasionally.
Exactly. Leadership clearly sets the tone. But the researchers wanted to know what actually drives those leaders in the first place.
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
The researchers crunched the numbers using an ANOVIA statistical analysis to see what influences a leader's decision-making process. Is it what the competitors are doing? Is it market pressure?
And the results were incredibly definitive.
Yeah, it wasn't external pressure at all. The biggest driver, by a long shot, was a leader's own internal strategic vision.
Their strategic priorities.
Exactly. Their strategic priorities completely outweighed market insights. Strategic priorities scored a 4.1 narrow mean in the data, far above market insights at a 3.40 mean.
Wow.
It tells us that a leader's internal compass dictates the culture of a company far more than whatever is happening in the external market.
Which makes sense, but it also brings us to the trap a lot of leaders fall into based on those internal priorities, transactional leadership.
Oh, the classic trap.
This is the do this, get that style of management. It's the manager who only checks in to ask if the spreadsheet is done or if the quota was met.
And look, the data shows it works, to a point. Over 40% of respondents, 40.9%, said it yields higher efficiency, and 27.3% said it creates highly structured dynamics.
But there is a really dark side to just treating your employees like cogs in an efficiency machine.
Right, because an engine can only run in the red for so long. The study found that nearly 22%, 21.8% to be exact, of employees working under transactional leaders report severe exhaustion,
Burnout.
total burnout.
Okay.
And another 10% report totally stagnant personal growth. You might get the quarterly numbers up, but you are basically burning the furniture to heat the house.
Exactly. So what's the alternative?
What's fascinating here is how the data contrasts that burnout with the effects of transformational leadership,
Okay.
where transactional leadership asks for basic compliance, transformational leadership asks for actual commitment.
And the numbers back that up.
Big time. The study shows this style drives significantly higher engagement, jumping up to 43.7%. And here is the key finding. 40% of the respondents said they value a shared vision above all else in leadership.
30%.
Yeah, more than clear rewards, more than creative autonomy.
So a transformational leader doesn't just demand output. They take the time to connect the daily grind, the endless emails, the code debugging, the client calls to a bigger, meaningful picture.
Precisely. In a modern corporate world that is infinitely complex, having that anchor of a shared vision is essential for resilience.
Because it explains the why.
Yes. If you understand why you're doing something, you can weather a lot more stress than if you were just blindly following orders for a paycheck.
It really makes you look at your own calendar.
It does.
I mean, think about your weekly check-ins with your team or the meetings your boss sets up with you. Are those interactions building a shared vision, or are they just transactional checklists?
Are you driving short-term efficiency but slowly exhausting the people around you?
Because, as we're about to see, that shared vision doesn't just make your team happier internally, it radically changes how your company impacts the world at large.
It's the bridge from the theory of leadership to the actual tangible output of an organization.
So if a shared vision is the antidote to that transactional burnout, what does that actually look like when you scale it up?
Right, when it's not just a small team.
Exactly, when you aren't just managing a team of 10, but thousands of people across the globe. This brings us to the 2025 Responsible Business Report from Freshfields,
A massive global law firm.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Their report shows how a shared vision manifests in their approach to ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues.
They're treating it very differently than a lot of firms.
Yeah, Freshfields uses its ESG risk and advisory group not just as a side project to look good, but as a core function to help clients navigate world-altering shifts.
Massive regulatory changes.
We're talking about advising on California's new climate disclosure rules or the European Union's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the CSRD.
And synthesizing that, it shows a profound shift in the corporate landscape. A transactional leader looks at ESG as a PR add-on.
A marketing brochure.
Exactly. But a transformational leader takes sustainability and embeds it into the very core of the business strategy. They aren't just advising clients on how to skirt regulations or find loopholes.
They are helping them build robust systems that actually anticipate global challenges.
It's strategic priority in action.
And their pro bono work is where this really crystallizes for me. The numbers in the report are huge. Freshfields has dedicated over 40,000 pro bono hours to save the children since 2009.
40,000 hours. That's incredible.
But when I first read that, I thought, okay, they're giving them standard free legal advice, drafting contracts, reviewing documents.
Which is standard pro bono.
Right. But they are actually innovating entirely new financial systems to solve global problems. Have you ever heard of a social outcomes contract?
Also known as social impact bonds or development impact bonds. Yes, they are a fascinating financial instrument.
I had to read this section twice because it's so clever. Traditionally, a government or a donor funds a social program up front. They give a charity, say, $10 million to fix homelessness, and they just cross their fingers and hope it works. If it fails, the taxpayer or the donor loses that money.
There's no guarantee of success.
But with the social impact bond, it's results-based financing. Private investors put up the capital for a social program, and the government or donor only pays them back with a return on their investment if tangible, measurable social progress is actually met.
It's a complete paradigm shift. It shifts the financial risk entirely away from the public sector and demands actual, measurable results from the programs.
Right. And Freshfields has been shaping the legal frameworks for these for over a decade.
They're doing the heavy lifting on the structure.
Yeah. They worked on the Single Homeless Prevention Service in London, the SHPS,
Right.
which has helped over 14,700 individuals avoid or exit homelessness.
Wow.
They also helped design a $30 million outcomes fund in Ghana designed to support 70,000 out-of-school children. They aren't just writing a check, they are using their specific, high-level corporate expertise to rewrite how social safety nets are funded.
Which is the absolute hallmark of transformational leadership. You see that exact same innovative approach in their environmental responsibility, too.
The REAP initiative.
Yes. The report highlights their Reforestation in East Africa program, or REAP. Now, think about the transactional approach to a company's carbon footprint.
By the cheapest credits available.
Exactly. A transactional leader just buys generic carbon offset credits. They balance the spreadsheet, tick the box, and say, we're carbon neutral.
Out of sight, out of mind.
But through REAP, Freshfields pooled resources with other law firms to fund high-quality, new carbon removal projects in Uganda and Kenya.
And they didn't just plant trees.
No, and crucially, they designed it to have social co-benefits. It isn't just about planting trees in an empty field to capture carbon. It's about improving farm resilience and nutritional diversity for the local families living on the front lines of climate impact.
That's amazing.
They asked, if we are spending this money, how do we make it do double duty for the environment and the local community?
I really want you, the listener, to pause and consider how your organization leverages its specific expertise.
It's an important question.
When it comes to social responsibility, are you just writing a charity check to tick a box? Or are you using the unique skills your company possesses, like a law firm using complex legal frameworks to solve systemic problems?
Right. What's your unique lever?
That is what a shared transformational vision looks like in practice. It's utilizing your core competency for good, not just your spare change.
But there is another side to this coin.
The internal side.
Exactly. Responsible business practices aren't just outward-facing. It's not just about saving the environment or funding charities in other countries. It's also profoundly inward-facing.
How you treat your people.
A truly transformational leader has to take responsibility for how their own employees develop and grow. You can't be a saint to the outside world and treat your employees' intellectual development as an afterthought.
Which brings us perfectly to the bleeding edge of the modern workplace and our third source, the February 2026 RCEIF study from Anthropic.
This is such a crucial piece of research.
This is all about how AI impacts human skill formation. And honestly, this feels like the ultimate test of internal responsibility right now.
It is the defining leadership challenge of this decade, no question.
So Anthropic researchers set up an experiment with junior software engineers. Their task was to learn and use a new asynchronous Python library called Trio.
A pretty standard learning task for a developer.
Right. They split the engineers into two groups. One group had access to an advanced AI assistant powered by GPT-4o, and the control group had no AI help at all. They just had standard documentation.
Now, in any corporate setting today, the immediate assumption from leadership is that the AI group is going to crush the control group.
Of course.
They'll learn faster, write code faster, and get better results.
Yeah.
That's why companies are rushing to adopt these tools.
That's exactly the assumption. But here is the massive twist from the study. The AI group actually experienced a 17% drop in their quiz scores afterward compared to the control group.
A 17% drop.
That is a drop of 2 full grade points in their conceptual understanding, their ability to read code, and their debugging skills.
Which is huge.
And to make matters worse, the AI didn't even save them time. The researchers found no statistically significant acceleration in task completion time for the AI group.
Unbelievable.
They learned significantly less, and they didn't do it any faster.
This phenomenon is known as cognitive offloading, and it should be a massive red flag for any organizational leader.
Why does it happen?
Here is why, without transformational guidance on how to use the tool, workers fall straight into a transactional trap with AI. They just want the output. They just want the finished code so they can close the ticket.
Just get the job done.
Right. The study noted that some participants in the AI group spend over 30% of their total task time just composing queries to the AI, sometimes writing up to 15 different prompts.
Wow, 15 prompts.
Just trying to get the machine to write the correct answer for them.
It reminds me of a metaphor I read recently. It's exactly like using a GPS on your phone to drive everywhere.
Oh.
You feel like a genius navigating a brand new city, taking all these shortcuts, but the second your phone battery dies, you realize you don't even know which way is north. You haven't built a mental map of the city at all.
That is a perfect analogy. The researchers actually quote a previous study in the paper that calls AI an exoskeleton.
An exoskeleton, I like that.
It makes the worker look incredibly strong and capable. But the moment you take the AI away, or the system encounters a novel problem the AI hasn't seen before, the human's technical abilities completely collapse
Because the muscles atrophied.
because they completely bypass the hard, frustrating, but necessary work of encountering errors and resolving them independently. That struggle, that friction, is where actual learning happens. When you offload the friction to an AI, you offload the learning too.
So how does a leader actually manage this? Because you can't just ban AI in the workplace. We're past that point.
No, you can't. If we connect this to the bigger picture, specifically back to the academic leadership study we started with, the implications are huge.
The transactional versus transformational piece.
Exactly. A transactional leader is going to look at AI and just tell their team, use this to work 50% faster. I don't care how you do it, just give me more output.
And what's the result?
What they will end up with in a year or two is a hollowed-out workforce. They will have a team of employees who can no longer debug complex problems, who don't understand the concepts they are deploying, and who are totally incapable of supervising high-stakes systems.
Because they've been relying on the exoskeleton for everything.
Exactly. But a transformational leader takes a different approach. They look at the data. This study actually identified 3 specific AI interaction patterns that preserve learning and skill formation.
Ray, I have them here. The study highlighted conceptual inquiry, where you explicitly ask the AI to explain a complex concept to you, rather than asking it to write the code.
It's like asking a teacher.
Yeah. Then there's iterative debugging, where you work with the AI to find an error, asking it for hints, rather than just pasting the broken code and saying, fix it.
You stay in the loop.
And finally, asking for explanations of code snippets.
A transformational leader prioritizes those specific interaction patterns. They establish a culture where the goal isn't just to produce a widget as fast as possible, but to continuously build the intellectual capital of the team.
Right.
They prioritize cognitive engagement over a quick fix. They tell their team, I want you using AI as a tutor, not as a crutch.
So what does this all mean?
When you put it all together.
Yeah, when we pull the lens back and bring these 3 deep dive sources together. We've got the academic data on what drives leadership, the global impact report from Freshfields, and this bleeding edge AI study from Anthropic. We see a really cohesive picture. Real organizational responsibility requires a holistic transformational approach.
It does.
You can't just be responsible in one area and deeply transactional in another.
It has to be integrated into the DNA of the culture. It can't be siloed.
To prove that point, let's look at a few final examples from the Freshfields report. They didn't just look outward at their own carbon footprint, aiming for net zero by 2050. They looked down their supply chain.
Which is where a lot of companies turn a blind eye.
Exactly. They partnered with the UN Global Compact and an NGO called Heart of the City to actively train their small to medium enterprise suppliers.
SME suppliers.
Right. They are using their massive resources to teach smaller companies about human rights, emissions reductions, and modern slavery compliance. They are building capability in others, not just hoarding it.
Which is the exact same mindset a good leader applies to training their junior developers with AI. It's about building capability.
And internally, Freshfields applied that same transformational approach to their own diversity. By 2025, they transformed their culture to reach 30% female equity partners globally.
That's a huge shift.
It's a massive leap from just 12% a decade earlier. You don't make that kind of systemic change by just setting a transactional quota. You do it by changing the shared vision of what leadership looks like in your firm.
It all comes back to our starting point. Leadership style is the ultimate multiplier in any organization. The internal compass of the people at the top dictates everything.
It sets the whole reality.
It dictates whether a company exhausts its people with endless transactional demands. It dictates whether a company recklessly implements AI at the cost of human mastery and cognitive skill.
Right.
Or, conversely, it dictates whether a company uses a shared vision to drive massive, world-changing initiatives like social outcomes contracts, sustainable supply chains, and a workforce that is genuinely empowered to learn and grow.
It's a lot to take in, but it's crucial for anyone navigating the modern workplace.
It really is.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We started with the hard theoretical data of how your boss's leadership style shapes your daily grind. We move to the massive real-world ESG and pro bono impact of a global firm scaling that shared vision.
Seeing it in action.
And finally, we explore the psychological frontier of AI skill retention and why we can't let technology hollow out our expertise.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day. As AI increasingly takes over the doing of our daily tasks, the coding, the drafting, the calculating, the organizing, the core human skill left in the workplace will be supervision and leadership,
That's all that's left.
the ability to guide the strategy. But if our current, often transactional leadership styles push us to adopt AI in a way that actively degrades our foundational knowledge, who is going to lead the machines when the humans forget how the underlying systems actually work?
That is a question every single leader needs to be asking themselves right now. Take a hard look at your own leadership footprint. Think about how you are building the skills of the people around you and what kind of invisible architecture you are leaving behind. Until next time, keep digging deeper.